All right, so tonight we'll be lengthening our hamstrings. If everybody would please stand up. And I just want you to take a simple check, not a stretch, not a pull, not a tug, but just a gentle bending forward to see how far down the front of your legs your fingertips go. And some of you will be quite flexible and your fingertips might be touching the floor, and others of you just sort of notice, this is where my fingertips easily go to. And we will come back to this at the end of the lesson to see what's changed. And you can feel for not only where your fingertips go, but just the quality of how your legs feel. You can stand up and just walk around your mat a little bit, see how your legs feel. Just get a sense of how you are now. And then when you're ready, just lie down on your mat, please. And as you're lying there, just begin to tune in and feel particularly how your legs are resting on the floor. And feel the space behind the right leg and the left leg. Is there any difference in how much contact one of your legs makes from the other? Space under each of your knees. You might just feel that one leg has a little more tone in it than the other leg. See if you can notice any of these differences. Feel the back of your thigh, where your hamstrings are. Feel how they rest on the floor. Feel the weight of your heels, your right heel and your left heel. And feel also into your low back as it curves away from the floor, noticing if there's any differences, again, between the arch that the muscles on the right side of your low back make compared to the arch on the left side of your low back. Usually we just think of our whole low back, but there are indeed different muscles on the right and left sides that may be used to holding you or carrying you slightly differently throughout the day. And you may be able to feel these differences here as you lie down and bring your attention to them. And then please roll onto your stomachs. You can have the palms of your hands near your head somewhere, legs comfortable, elbows bent, and have your head turned to the right. So you're facing your right elbow. Your left cheek is on the floor. Arms and hands out so they're near your face, if you're able. And pull the toes of your right foot back so that you're standing through the toes. And actually, I forgot to say this, but this lesson probably will be a lot easier with your socks off. So I'll just take a moment for any of you who want to take your socks off. Okay, so toes on the right foot pulled back, and see if you can just begin pressing through the toes a little bit so that it'd be like your toes were going to press the rest of your body forward towards your head or headward. And just press and release, gently pressing and releasing. And it may be a little extra work to hold your toes back, so just take it easy, press when you can, release and reposition your feet as necessary. And see if you can push hard enough to lift your right knee off the floor. So by pressing your foot and your toes sort of down and backward, footward, the strength will go through your right leg and lift your knee up. And see if you can begin to feel it connecting into your pelvis so that the right side of your pelvis may even want to lift. Or if it doesn't completely want to lift, you can imagine how pressing through your toes would lift your right knee, the right side of your pelvis. So your pelvis might roll a little bit to the left. And just see how soft can you make the rest of your body. How far through your leg, your pelvis, and then up into your spine, maybe even your shoulders. Can you feel this movement of pressing your toes down and backward into the floor? It's like how a sprinter starts in the sprinter blocks. Good. And then just pause and rest for a moment. Let your foot take a break. Really just keep listening to how your foot and ankle is doing through this lesson. For many folks, we can be quite tight in our calves, so this can be a challenging movement. So do your best. If you can only do one or two, or just imagine it. And then come back to the same position with the toes pulled back. You're pressing through your toes down into the floor and a little bit backward, feeling that propel through your body up so your knee lifts, the right side of your pelvis might lift a little bit, and you're really tracking how far up into your spine, your shoulders, your neck, maybe even your head. You feel this? And then notice which toes you tend to press through. Where is most of the force? Is it closer to the big toe, the little toes? Is it right in the middle? And then intentionally press through the little toes. So rock your foot so your heel goes out to the side a little bit, and press and release. Just feeling how that moves through your body as you press through the little toes. And when you've done that a few times, you can shift to the big toe, pressing and releasing through the big toe. And can you feel any differences? Does the movement, is the force different? Does the movement translate differently when your heel is inwards? You can press through your big toe, and when the heel is outward, pressing through your little toes. Good. And what if you just press right through the middle? And which part of your foot, when you press through it, gives you the most support, the most strength, the clearest connection through the rest of your body? The small toes, the big toe, or somewhere in the middle? And then just rest again, please. And just feel how your right leg is feeling now compared to your left leg. Is it resting any differently on the floor? And then gently turn your head to the left so your right cheek is resting on the floor. And begin the same experiment. Just start with bending the foot and the toes back and making connection with the floor. And just gently beginning to press your toes into the floor, down and back, and just feeling what else moves. Where can you feel that connection? Can your left knee lift through the force because of the force of the foot, the left side of your pelvis? What about your ribs and your shoulder blades, your shoulders and your neck? How gently and softly can you push and still feel the movement translating through your body? Notice how you're breathing as you press. Good, and then give the foot a rest again for the moment. And then again, pull the toes back. Continue the experiment, this time playing a few times with the small toes, over to the big toe, and just really each time feeling fully, not just how you press through the toes, but how you release back to neutral. I've said this before, but we're often so focused on where the movement, where the action takes us, we forget to really stay as tuned in to how we come back to neutral, how we come back to resting, to our center. And just keep experimenting and see if you can just find that sweet spot where you really feel the clarity and the strength. If you were that sprinter, that's the point of your foot you would want to press off to start the race. Great. And then just rest your foot again. Feel the quality of your left leg resting now, and your right leg. Notice that things are beginning to shift. Feel the curiosity in your brain. Where are we going with this? And then place one hand on top of the other so that you can rest your forehead on your hands. So you're looking downward to the floor. And pull both feet back. And begin pressing through both feet. Can you feel your knees lifting off the floor? Could you actually press so that your knees and your pelvis begin to lift off the floor? Just gently. Is it symmetrical? As you press through your feet and your pelvis, maybe even your belly begins to lift, rolling off the floor. Does one side lift more easily than the other side? Are you breathing? And just feel, is it relatively easy, or feel the quality of effort that you're putting into it? And then rest your feet and roll onto your backs, please, for a full rest on your backs. And feel the quality of how you're lying now. Your right leg and your left leg. The backs of your legs resting on the floor where your hamstrings are. The space under your right and left knee. Your calves. And the weight under each of your heels. And also bring your attention to your low back, that gentle arch your low back makes, and see if any changes have begun to happen from these first movements. And then please roll to your side and just gently pour yourself up to sitting. And if sitting is difficult for you on the floor, you might want to get some towels or some extra blankets and just perch yourself up a little higher. For some people, you might want to do this part in a chair, but if you can stay near the floor, I think that might serve its purpose a little better. So in sitting, for some of you, you'll be able to bend your left foot back behind you, like a runner stretch. And if that is difficult or if it creates any strain, then you can just bend your left foot in front of you. Bend your left knee out to the side so your foot is sort of near your crotch. So it can be like this or like this. That right leg out in front of you. So it's the left leg that's bent either behind you or in front of you in some fashion, if you're able. Okay, very good. And so you can lean on your right arm. Feel free to use your right arm for some support and stability. And reach with and bend your right knee as much as you need to for comfort. So what we don't want is for you to feel a constant strain or stretch on your hamstrings. Although we're going to be doing some movements around the organization of the pelvis and the hamstrings, I find you'll get a lot better results from this lessons if you're not turning it into a hamstring stretch. So reach across your body with your left hand and gently begin to stroke the outside of your right leg, the outside of your right thigh with your left hand. And just stroke it, long, sort of massaging strokes, like your hand is saying hi to your thigh. How often do you lovingly and gently say hi to your thigh? And if you're able to, you can begin to reach down and just stay on the outside of the thigh to start. And let your whole body participate, your shoulder, your trunk, your head. And at no time do you need to stretch. If you need to soften your knee a little more and let it bend so that you can reach your lower leg and your ankle. And if you're not able to go past your knee, don't worry about it. Just rub your thigh and let your whole body participate. And then begin to get the top of your thigh and leg, the inside, the back side, like you're sculpting your leg. You're getting such a clear impression of every part of your leg. You're shaping it just the way you've always wanted it. Again, letting your shoulder follow, letting your trunk follow. Let your head go down with each stroke and come back up with each stroke. And make sure you're breathing. Great. And if you're able to, reach your foot. Get all the way down to your foot. If you need to bend your knee a little bit, then bend your knee. Like I said before, if sitting is just becoming too uncomfortable, you can do this on a chair. Okay, and then just give it a rest and lie on your backs, please. Get off your perches, those of you who are perched. And lying on your back, just feel how the right leg feels in the left leg. Are there any changes that are beginning to take place? The right leg resting on the floor any differently now than it was before? Is it easier to make a comparison with the right leg and the left leg? Any changes in the perception of your low back and the right side and the left side? And then roll yourself back up to sitting, easily and gently. See, for those of you who are used to all of my nice, easy, gentle lessons, you actually have to move around a little bit for this one. And position yourself opposite the way we did last time. So this time your right leg will either be behind you or in front of you. And you'll lean on your left hand and begin to reach across with your right hand, starting with the outside of the left thigh, just stroking up and down. And let as much of your body participate as possible, so that it's not just the hand coming from the shoulder, that everything leans forward. The trunk, the head, the eyes follow the movements, the breath follows the movements. And as you get acquainted with the outside of your left thigh and begin to reach down to your lower leg, then you can begin to include the insides, the top sides, the back side of your thigh. Nice and gentle. So there's two places in your body that have the greatest sensation innervation of your nervous system. Anybody know? The part of your brain that has like the most area for it. One is your lips, and the other is your hands. Yes, your hands. So this is making this huge connection in your brain and your nervous system, hand to brain. And you're creating a movement that completely bypasses hamstring stretching, that is connecting a reaching and a bending and a movement while your hand relates to your leg in this way. Much more fun than hamstring stretching, too. We're getting the whole leg, every inch of the leg. This is a good lesson, too, following last week's lesson where we painted the leg, so you can kind of bring that image back in, like you're painting every aspect of your leg, and you don't want to leave any drop out. And if you need to bend your knee a little bit, let your head and your shoulders follow. Keep your breath full. Don't get too serious. Just enjoy. If you can't afford the massage therapist, you can just sit up and give yourself your own massage. Great. And then go ahead and lie on your backs again, please. And just lying there, feeling each of your legs, the tone in your legs. Notice if it's changing at all. The contact of the back of your thighs, your calves, your heels. Your lower back. Maybe even the contact behind your shoulders and shoulder blades is changing. And one more time, roll to your sides and sit up. And as you roll to your side, notice, do you roll to the same side every time? It's interesting to notice our patterns and our habits. Do you think about it and try other sides, or do you try a new side? So this time, both legs out in front, a comfortable distance apart. You can kind of Just open them up and flop them back down or spread them out, but kind of play with what's comfortable there. If you can keep your knees long, straight, that's great. If you need to open them out to the side and bend them a little bit, that's fine too. And this time, bring both your hands over to your right leg and begin massaging. Let both your hands get to know all the aspects of your right leg, going down the leg, towards the foot, up the leg, and then crossing with your hands staying connected to your trunk, crossing over to the left leg. And going down, sweeping the motion a few times up and down the left leg, and crossing to the right leg, and just letting your shoulders really go, letting your upper back reach. You can come up with creative ways, putting both hands on the outside or the inside, like you're putting on some kind of wonderful, creative, artistic body paint. So both hands stay together on one leg and then the other leg. And just notice as you're rubbing your leg, does your mind start to wander and think? And can you come back to the sensation of your clothes, of your leg, your fingertips, different parts of your body? Maybe you're spreading some kind of beautiful icing on your leg and making designs and swoops and swirls. Mine would, of course, be chocolate icing, but you can imagine your own flavor. And when you've got your legs thoroughly painted, again, lie on your backs, please. And again, lying there feeling the backs of your legs, the contact that you're making, any changes that you might be noticing. And then again, please roll to your sides and sit up. And this time sit so that your feet are on the floor and both of your knees are bent up towards your chest. And if you're able to, reach down with your right hand to hold the outside of your right foot so that your elbow is on the outside of your right knee. If you're able to do that, great, do that. If it's too hard to hold your foot, you can hold your calf, or just you can hold under your knee is fine too. Right? And so just a couple times, just slide your foot out away from you and back towards you. And keep your hand in the same contact, so your whole body has to follow. Letting your body follow down and up. Good. And then come back up and keep it there. And this time, see if you can touch any part of your face to your knee. Can you bend down and touch any part of your face to your knee? And if you can't, that's perfectly reasonable. But just imagine that as close as you can get to your knee, imagine that you tie a string from either your nose to your knee or your chin to your knee, and you keep that distance so that as your foot slides down, the distance doesn't change. And then you could even change places on your face. So if you're imagining a place on your face, imagine that it's maybe your cheek or your ear or your chin. How does it change when you slide the foot away from you and towards you, and your chin is an approximation to your knee, and you're breathing, versus when your forehead is an approximation with your knee? Now make sure you're doing this lightly and easily enough so that you're not straining or efforting. And then just sit up for a moment. Good. And hold your knee with both hands under the knee so that your fingers are interlaced and you're under the knee, foot still on the floor. And just begin to, with your trunk, your shoulders, your upper body, make circles with your leg and your foot on the floor. So your foot is moving because you're leaning your body backwards and you're leaning your body forwards. You're leaning your body to the side, and just let your foot follow where your shoulders take your hands, then your hands takes your knee and your leg. Just let it all follow. And again, you might notice that your face stays relatively the same distance from your knee. So think about changing parts of your face. Think about having your cheek be the same distance from your knee, maybe the left cheek. And then what if it's the right cheek? And when you've thoroughly played with this, please roll on your backs again. Just resting there. So some lessons are more challenging than other lessons. And throughout my training, and even to this day, when it comes to lessons that seem to be easier if you are more pliable and flexible in your hamstrings, for me, these lessons end up being about how do I take care of myself? How do I stay in a room of people moving with the flexibility I only dream of? And really do small, gentle movements and stay in a state of self-respect, self-care, self-appreciation. So again, please roll onto your sides and pour yourself gently up to sitting. Your feet on the floor and your knees bent up in front of you. If you need to sit up on some cushions, that would be good for some of you. And now reach down to the outside of your left foot with your left hand, keeping your elbow to the outside of your left knee. And if you're not able to reach your foot, you can hold onto your ankle or your calf. Or for some of you, just holding on behind your knee is just fine. And gently begin lengthening the left foot away from you and using the assistance of your arm to bring it back towards you. And as you do this, begin to see if any parts of your face can reach towards your knee. And either let them touch your knee or just let them follow. Let your face follow your knee downward and back upward. So your whole trunk is moving gently. And you're playing with different parts of your face, feeling the different angles that are made when it's your forehead versus your chin. or your nose. Just really getting acquainted with how many different ways can you slide your foot down and connect your foot and your knee with your upper body through your face. And then just switch to holding behind your knee and really letting your whole trunk lean backwards. So your fingers, your hands are interlaced behind your knee. You're leaning back and forward with your whole trunk, moving your foot around with your arms, sliding your foot in all kinds of directions and shapes on the floor. Breathing, keeping your face soft. Maybe even smiling and enjoying yourself. Great. And when you're ready, please lie on your backs again, please. And just rest. Feel the contact throughout the back of yourself. Has anything changed in the back of your thighs, where your hamstrings are, how they're connecting to the floor, being supported by the floor? Feel the space behind the knees, if that's changed. Contact of the calves, the weight of your heels. And sensing up through your pelvis, curve of your low back away from the floor, if there's any changes there. Shoulders, your neck. And then please roll onto your stomachs again. Turn your head to the right so that your left cheek is resting on the floor, and have your hands near your head. And pull your right toes back, and just a few times experiment with pressing through your toes. Can you find that sweet spot any more easily now? The connection, lifting your right knee as you press the right side of your pelvis. Can you feel the influence of the pressure going all the way up through your trunk, your shoulders, your neck? Is it any more obvious where that sweet spot is, which toes to press through to make the connection the clearest? To feel the strongest. And then rest your right leg, switch your head to the left, and continue the experiment on the left side. Feeling the connection from your toes, lifting the knee up, the left side of the pelvis, all the way through yourself. Great. And just rest again. Giving your weight to the floor, letting your whole body relax. And then finally pull both feet back, both toes. Let your forehead rest on the back of your hands. And begin pressing through both feet. And see particularly here, has anything changed? Does that pressing through the toes, has it changed how your knees lift, how your pelvis begins to lift? Can you any more easily begin to roll your trunk up off the floor? It's kind of cool. I remember the first time I did this lesson, and when I got to this part, and just I was so surprised at just how easily my pelvis and trunk popped up off the floor. Great, and just let it all rest. Roll onto your backs, please. And just feel how you are now compared to the beginning of the lesson. How present are you with yourself, with your sensations and experiences? And when you're ready, gently roll to your sides and come up to standing. And just enjoy a bit. Let yourself walk around a little bit. Feel the sensations. And at some point, not necessarily right away, just gently bend forward and see if the bending forward is easier, if the tension in the hamstrings has changed. And if you get a chance to go for a walk later or even a run, you might feel remarkable strength in how your legs propel you forward now.